What connects the Latin star of a 1960s hit, a Golden Age Hollywood actress, and a Yankees legend beyond their fame? I've asked myself that since I found a beat-up Trini Lopez vinyl at a yard sale and dropped the needle. I'm Sarah Reed, and you're watching Golden American Legends. Today, we're honoring three icons we've lost: Trini Lopez, Loretta Young, and Mickey Mantle, and why their legacies still echo in our lives. Here's a quick hint. Each started young and never looked back. Loretta was headlining at 15. Mickey broke in with the Yankees at 19. That early spark? It never went out. I spent hours in archives and old interviews to pull together the moments that show who they were and what they still mean. We'll move from the stage to the screen to the ballpark. And along the way, I'll share the little details that made me stop and smile. Which of these legends do you remember from your childhood? Tell me in the comments. I'm reading them. Ready to follow the hammer, the gown, and the pinstripes? Let's start with number 1, Trini Lopez and the Dallas neighborhood that built his sound. Number 1, we begin with Trini Lopez. How did a Mexican-American kid from Dallas become a global music icon? He was born May 15, 1937, in Little Mexico, a tight-knit barrio where the streets carried rhythm. His dad, a Mexican immigrant, taught him guitar and handed him a $12 pawn shop special. Trini later said music was the biggest reward because it lifted his family out of poverty. That line hits me every time. Picture this. Teen Trini on street corners playing La Bamba, then hustling gigs in clubs that didn't even admit Mexican patrons. He made music anyway. That takes grit. The sound he built was a bridge, Spanish at home, American pop all around him, and he walked it with a smile. As I dug through Dallas clippings, I could almost hear the strum against hot summer air. Those early sets shaped his timing, his charm, and that effortless bounce in his voice. But the real turn came when a stage far from Dallas put him in front of the right ears. Who noticed a kid with a pawn shop guitar and a fearless grin? Up next, the song that swung the door wide open. What made Trini's 1963 If I Had a Hammer explode worldwide? Energy. He took a folk classic and turned it into a celebration. Before that, he'd been lighting up PJ's, a Los Angeles nightclub, with a live wire set. That buzz reached Frank Sinatra, who signed him. Then the live album hit, and the single, a joyful, Latin-infused If I Had a Hammer, caught fire. Suddenly, Trini wasn't just a great night out, he was a household name. He didn't write the song, but his arrangement made it dance. It became his first gold record, sparked Grammy attention, and sent him around the world playing to sold-out rooms. I love that a tune about hope and work became his signature because it mirrors his story. Relentless, upbeat, generous. Watch old footage and you can feel an audience rising to his tempo, clapping back at that bright, percussive strum. The chorus hits and it feels like a room hugging itself. That's when you know an artist isn't a trend. They're a connector. But he wasn't done. This wasn't one lucky single, it was the start of a style. Next, how Trini mixed cultures into a sound all his own. How did Trini stand out in a crowded pop scene? He blended worlds. His signature style fused Latin rhythms with American folk and pop. That meant hand claps, bright guitar, and a groove that felt like a block party and a coffeehouse sing-along at the same time. Listen to Lemon Tree or his take on La Bamba, and you hear it. Mexican pulse meeting U.S. radio polish. That mix mattered. It broke down doors for later Latino artists who wanted to live in both spaces without apology. Even the gear world noticed. In the mid-60s, Gibson introduced the Trini Lopez electric guitar, a sleek sign that his sound and image moved markets. I geeked out over old catalog pages to track that model's debut, and it still looks cool today. More than the look, though, was the invitation. You can bring your culture to the mainstream and make it sing. That's the thread I see from Trini to so many crossover stars now. He proved fusion could be fun, not forced. And he carried that charisma beyond music, too. He didn't just change the sound, he stepped in front of a movie camera. Up next, Trini beyond the stage. What did Trini do after conquering the charts? He kept moving. He joined Hollywood's tough guy roll call in The Dirty Dozen in 1967, holding his own with Lee Marvin and Charles Bronson. He tried business ventures, including restaurants, but the stage kept calling, and he answered it well into his 80s. There are stories of him popping into shows in Palm Springs just to jam. Still that smile, still that snap in his strum. Honors followed the love. In 1993, he received a star on the Palm Springs Walk of Stars, a hometown pat on the back from the desert community that adored him. And decades later, a documentary arrived, reminding new fans why he mattered. Trini passed in 2020 at 83, but his playlists haven't gone quiet. His songs still bounce through living rooms, road trips, and backyard dinners. That's a legacy you can dance to. For me, the lesson is simple. Keep your joy loud and your roots close. From the music stage, let's step under studio lights. Number 2 takes us to Hollywood royalty who risked big and won bigger, Loretta Young. Number 2, Loretta Young. How did a teenager become one of Hollywood's leading ladies? By walking onto a set at 15 and holding her ground. In 1928, she starred opposite the great Lon Chaney in Laugh, Clown, Laugh. Imagine being a kid in the last breath of the silent era and thriving as the talkies roared in. Over the next 2 decades, Loretta appeared in 88 films. Directors like Capra and Ford wanted her. Co-stars like Cary Grant and Spencer Tracy matched her grace. And critics loved her serene presence, that upright poise, the strong-willed heroines with a soft voice and a steel core. Reading those old notes, I kept seeing the same phrase, never less than a star. The studio system made icons, but Loretta's staying power came from skill and discipline. She understood camera angles, costume lines, and the music of her own voice. Still, even icon careers dip. By the mid-40s, she needed a spark. And oh, did she pick a bold one. It required a wig, an accent, and a giant leap of faith. Up next, the risky role that won her an Oscar and reset her path. Why is the farmer's daughter often called a career saver for Loretta? Because she took a gamble in 1947 and turned it into gold. She played Katrin Holstrom, a Swedish-born housemaid who runs for Congress. For the part, she put on a blonde wig and a Swedish accent, a big swing for a star known for elegance, not gimmicks. Producer Dor Shari saw her nerves and, as the story goes, told her, yes, it's risky, but it could also win you an Academy Award. He was right. Loretta won Best Actress that year. And the win wasn't a one-off headline. It jump-started a graceful run. The Bishop's Wife, released the same year, became a holiday classic, and Come to the Stable in 1949 brought her another Oscar nomination. Watching those films today, you see the balance she struck. Playful, principled, and precise. She took a character that could have been a caricature and made her human and hopeful. That's craft, and that's courage. But her shrewdest move was still ahead. When film roles slowed, she didn't fade. She flipped the script and changed a new medium instead. Next up, the small screen. How did Loretta become a queen of early television? By betting on a medium most film stars ignored. In 1953, she launched The Loretta Young Show, an anthology series that ran for a full decade, more than 300 half-hour episodes. Each week, she swept through a doorway in a gleaming gown, a grand entrance that became a cultural wink. Audiences tuned in as much for that glow as for the stories. The awards followed the work. 7 Emmy nominations, 3 wins. And Loretta protected the show's spirit fiercely. When reruns tried to tinker with her signature intros in the 1970s, she fought to keep them intact, and won. That's a creator guarding her art. I love how TV let her stretch, too. Different eras, accents, ages, and types, all on her terms. If you're enjoying this deep research tribute, subscribe to Golden American Legends. It helps me keep digging into archives and sharing the gems with you. Her television crown reminds us that smart pivots can make new empires. From her small screen legacy, let's swing to a different American hero in motion, a comet in pinstripes racing across center field. What made Loretta a model of dignity even off camera? She carried herself with a steady grace that colleagues never forgot. Her longtime agent, Norman Brokaw, called her an incredible lady, and he shared a lesson he said she embodied. If you handle yourself with class and dignity, you can work as long as you want in this business. Loretta did. Beyond the spotlight, she gave to charity and launched a personal care line bearing her name. On screen, that serene uprightness critics saw wasn't an act. It matched how she treated crews, fans, and young actors seeking advice. She worked deep into her later years, not as a relic, but as a pro who knew the craft and respected it. When I watch her glide through those TV entrances, I see more than glamour. I see a woman who understood image as a promise. She would show up, prepared and kind every time. Loretta left us in 2000 at age 87, but those reruns and restorations keep her presence alive. From velvet gowns to pinstripes and dirt-stained uniforms, let's head to number 3, the legend who made Yankee Stadium feel like a myth made real. Number 3, Mickey Mantle. How did a small-town kid become baseball royalty? He was born in 1931 in Commerce, Oklahoma, the Commerce Comet. Sports writers called him the clean-cut country boy with the boyish grin. The Yankees signed him as a teenager, and by 1951, at just 19, he was in center field in the big city. That same year, in the World Series, he suffered a serious knee injury, a bad twist that would haunt him for years. But fans couldn't look away. He ran like a deer, hit from both sides of the plate, and made the game look easy even when it wasn't. Willie Mays once said Mantle seemed like everybody's idea of what a great ball player should be. Watching old clips, I get it. The easy power, the gallop around second, the grin that said, "Let's do it again." Mantle arrived at a moment when the Yankees were a winning machine, and he became their shining engine. But numbers tell only part of it. The roar in October told the rest. Next, the trophies, the records, and the stats that still make scoreboards blink when his name appears. What feats cemented Mantle's status as a baseball legend? Start with the team story. He helped the Yankees capture 12 American League pennants and 7 World Series titles in the 1950s and early 1960s. In the Fall Classic, he launched 18 home runs, still the World Series record. Now the solo sizzle. Mantle won the American League MVP 3 times, 1956, 1957, and 1962, and finished his career in 1968 with 536 home runs. When he retired, that placed him 3rd all-time behind Ruth and Mays, and he's still 8th today. He batted over 300 for 5 straight seasons and topped 100 RBIs in 6 seasons. That's consistency under stadium lights and constant pressure. What I love about his highlight reel is the sound. The crack rings out and the camera can barely follow the ball. Then the trot. Not cocky, just sure. It was winning without the wink. The numbers are cold, but the memories are warm. Their dads and kids in the stands, radios buzzing on porches, October nights that smell like peanuts and hope. But even titans carry pain. Mantle's hardest battles weren't always at the plate. Next, the human side behind the myth. What obstacles did Mantle face behind that glow? A lot. The knee he injured in the 1951 World Series never truly healed, and other injuries piled on. He still played 2,401 games for the Yankees, a franchise record, and so much of it was, as he admitted, playing in pain. You can feel it in some late career swings. Less lift, more grit. Off the field, the spotlight grew heavier. After he retired, he developed a taste for high living and good liquor that turned into a serious battle with alcoholism. The damage was real and cruel. His liver was ravaged by cirrhosis and cancer, and he died in 1995 at just 63. I say this not to judge, but to honor the whole person. Legends are not marble. They're flesh and spirit, choices and consequences. When we talk about Mantle's power, we should also remember his fragility and the way he kept showing up anyway. It makes the cheers sound different. They're still loud. They're also tender. So why, after all that, does his name still light up our memory? One more look at the proof that he's forever. Why does Mickey Mantle's legend still resonate decades later? Because the story and the stats still shine. The Yankees retired his number 7. He entered the Hall of Fame in 1974. He finished with 536 home runs, still 8th all-time, and he remains a symbol of Yankee greatness for fans who never even saw him play live. He's more than numbers, though. He's a melody in American sports lore. There's even a song that enshrines him with Willie Mays and Duke Snider, Willie, Mickey, and the Duke, a nod to 3 center fielders who owned a city's dreams. Museums and exhibits keep his memory in circulation. Old highlight reels pop up every October, and kids still pick up a bat and ask about that switch-hitting star who ran like a streak. That's how you know a legacy lives. It doesn't need an introduction. It just arrives, familiar and bright. Now, let's bring our 3 icons together and see the thread they share. A thread stitched by work, risk, and joy that refuses to fade. What unites the legacies of Lopez, Young, and Mantle? They turned talent into bridges. Trini mixed cultures and lifted a family with a 12 guitar. Loretta crossed from silent-era sets to TV royalty with poise and guts. Mantle swung through pain and gave October its soundtrack. Different worlds, same heartbeat. excellence with heart. I dug through old interviews, papers, and footage for this tribute, and I kept hearing the same echo. These legends still meet us in daily life. A Trini chorus at a cookout, a Loretta rerun on a rainy afternoon, a Mantle highlight before a big game. They remind us that great art and sport don't vanish, they settle in. Thanks for watching, and if you had a good time traveling through these stories, hit subscribe. It helps me keep making deep, carefully researched videos like this. Which icon story inspired you most today? I can't wait to read your thoughts. Like, share with a fellow fan, and I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, keep the records spinning, the reels rolling, and the scoreboards glowing, because legends don't leave, they live on.